Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. Your top stories. Monitor closely for Penjana benefits to reach targeted groups, urges King. And range of MCO matters to be addressed by PM on Sunday. Our headlining story. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah wanted the implementation of the National Economic Recovery Plan, Penjana, to be monitored closely. This, according to the King, is to ensure that the benefits from the programme reach the targeted groups and its objectives truly help the people and rejuvenate the economy. The King has described the Penjana plan unveiled by Prime Minister on Friday as a comprehensive stimulus package. This as the 35 billion ringgit plan had taken into consideration not just the grouses, needs and welfare of the people from all strata of society, but also industries and businesses. Istana Negara's controller of the royal household, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said Al-Sultan Abdullah also expressed his support and appreciation for the measures spelt out by the government in the plan to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the people and the country's economy. His Majesty also hoped that the plan would enable the government to speedily and effectively address the challenges, especially its financial, economic and social impact. His Majesty also asked the people to take wise actions to benefit from the initiatives in the plan. This includes not being choosy about jobs, including in sectors undertaken by migrant workers, to reduce the country's dependency on foreign labour. A new unit will be set up by the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, MIDA, to facilitate the approval process and speed up the implementation of approved manufacturing projects. This is part of the government's efforts to boost domestic and foreign investment in the country, in line with the National Economic Recovery Plan, Penjana, unveiled by the government on Friday. Senior Minister of Economy Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali, in a statement on Saturday, said the new unit will be known as the Project Acceleration and Coordination Unit, PACU. Under the unit, the manufacturing licence approval process for non-sensitive industries will be shortened to just 2 business days. He also said he was confident that the tax and investment incentives outlined in Penjana, along with the easing of the movement control order, will attract multinational companies to relocate their operations to Malaysia. Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin, who is also International Trade and Industry Minister, added the tax exemption incentives, apart from attracting more investment, is expected to create new high-tech job opportunities. On Friday, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin announced 40 initiatives under Penjana to revitalise the country's economy, including a full 10-year exemption for new capital investments ranging from 300 million to 500 million ringgit. Investments in properties exceeding 500 million ringgit will also enjoy a full tax exemption for 15 years. An allocation of 100 million ringgit for the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox will also act as a catalyst for rapid start-up growth in the country. Under the new recovery plan, a special financial assistance of 500 million ringgit is also allocated for Perbadanan Usahawan Nasional Berhad and Majlis Amanah Rakyat to assist Bumiputra entrepreneurs. Meanwhile, the Malaysian Employers Federation, MEF, said the 35 billion ringgit stimulus package has provided a breath of fresh air for businesses struggling to restart their operations during the CMCO. This is the allocation of 5 billion ringgit in wages subsidy to 2.8 million employees with 600 ringgit monthly for a period of 3 months will encourage employers to retain their employees. However, its Executive Director Datuk Shamsuddin Bardan said the government should consider allocating more funds for the initiative due to the lingering negative impact of the pandemic.
MEF is of the view that the funding for the wage subsidy program should be made bigger and the period should be longer. The additional 5 billion ringgit can only amount to less than 1% of the wages bill for the private sector per month, and the 3 months will not be sufficient enough to encourage employers not to retrench the employees, because we expect that the effects of the COVID-19 can be even extending to next year.
The 1.5 billion ringgit allocated for the Employee Incentive Programme will also spur employers to engage and hire the unemployed and youth by providing them the necessary skills and knowledge, especially in the information technology, in line with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, IR 4.0. It is estimated to benefit 300,000 job seekers, especially professionals under 40 years old, the unemployed over 40 years, and people with disabilities. MEF also lauded the government's move to provide social protection, including SOCSO and EPF, for workers in the gig economy. This will ensure that the gig worker would be covered for unemployment injury and also provide them with savings in their old age. This as the new labour market is expected to shift more towards shorter-term employment and freelancing. In a related development, the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association, Retta Malaysia, believes that the measures outlined in Bencana will play a key role in reforming the economic standing of all industries by encouraging consumption as well as spending and at the same time boosting employment.
Amongst the 40 initiatives announced, there were some tax incentive for the housing sector. With this incentive, we hope that the burden of the house buyer will be reduced, and at the same time, the whole sector can be invigorated.
Applauding the short-term economic recovery plan to address the fiscal challenges brought forth by the COVID-19 pandemic, Retta is also confident that the incentives will ultimately contribute to the growth of the economy. The association also pledged its support to the government in working together towards a more robust and vibrant housing market and economy for the benefit of all who are affected. Among the incentives unveiled for the property market by the Prime Minister yesterday included the reintroduction of the Home Ownership Campaign, HOC, effective beginning this month until May 31st next year. Also announced were the exemptions of Real Property Gains Tax, RPGT, effective until end of 2021, as well as the removal of loan-to-value, LTV ratio for residential units priced from 600,000 ringgit and above during the HOC period.
Keris panjang emas pesona, pending muskat pakaian kebesaran. Tuanku, Raja yang bijaksana, rakyat bersatu menjunjung perpaduan. Saksikan Dirgahayu, Isnin 6.30 petang di TV3.
Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is slated to make a special address later on Sunday that will touch on a range of matters on the Movement Control Order, MCO. Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said the Prime Minister will touch on present restrictions on interstate travel in the announcement.
Untuk orang bujang dan sebagainya, rentas negeri, saya difahamkan besok Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri akan mengumumkan sesuatu. Jadi kita tunggulah. Saya takut nanti saya umum berbeza pula dengan Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri. Ataupun nanti saya umum lebih awal daripada Perdana Menteri. Tak boleh. Jadi besok Perdana Menteri, Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri akan mengumumkan sesuatu. Tentu sajalah banyak perkara-perkara yang mungkin akan disebut.
Datuk Sri Ismail said this when asked about the possibility of allowing single people from crossing state borders to be with their families. Recently, the government relaxed rules on interstate travel to allow for emergencies, work matters, and for couples to get married or visit spouses working in other states. He said should the Prime Minister not mention anything on it, then he would make an announcement in the single individual interstate travel issue. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri also said the government, in principle, has agreed with the SOP on capacity expansion for Friday prayers and congregational prayers in mosques and surau, tabled by Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri in the Cabinet meeting on Saturday. In the meantime, public markets and bazaars nationwide will also be able to resume operations starting June 15th. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said the reopening of the markets, however, will have to follow a new SOP set by the Health Ministry. Operating hours for morning and open markets will be between 6 a.m. to 11 a.m., while night markets can open between 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. For Bazaars, operations can resume between 5 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Jarak sosial di antara gerai ke gerai telah pun ditetapkan di antara 1.5 meter hingga 2 meter. Dan di lokasi terbuka dan berpagar bagi mengawal laluan keluar masuk. Untuk keluar masuk hanya menggunakan satu jalan masuk dan satu jalan keluar. Maknanya secara one way.
Datuk Seri Ismail added that tables for dine-in are not permitted and only takeaway food is allowed. Businesses and visitors are encouraged to use face masks and hand sanitizers during their operating hours and visits, and they will also have to install the app My Sejahtera to be used during temperature checks at the market entrances. Haircuts and hairdressing services are likely to cost more than before due to additional expenses incurred in implementing the new standard operating procedures. The government on Saturday announced that barbers, hairdressers and beauty salons can resume business from 10th June onwards with a new standard operating procedure. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the decision was made after taking into account the 13.5 billion ringgit per year contribution to the country's GDP by the sector.
Aktiviti yang dibenarkan termasuk gunting rambut asas, cuci rambut, cukur jambang dan misai, solekan dan rawatan rambut, manicure dan pedicure, serta cuci dan rawatan muka.
Among the precautions that have to be taken is the wearing of face shields and disposable gloves and aprons by the staff for each individual customer. The business premises also have to ensure that there is at least a distance of 2 meters between the hairdressing chairs used. Towels used must not be shared among the customers too. And for customers aged 60 and above, they can only use these services by appointment only when there are no other customers of other age groups. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said currently there are 74,500 people who are currently employed in the industry with 16,700 plus registered businesses. In response to the matter, the Malaysian Indian Hairdressing Salon Owners Association, MINDAS, said there will be an estimated 20% hike in prices due to the need to purchase disposable personal protection equipment such as aprons and gloves. Its president, Dr. Magendran Velasamy, said members of the association were delighted that they will all be going to work again.
Today we all happy because a very long time, 3 months, after 3 months we opened back the shop. We have to follow the SOP. No comment because we have to increase the price also because we have to follow the SOP. Without SOP, that's why the 3 months the government never allowed to do this business. Now we have to follow the SOP and we do the business. We do the business and we have to increase the price also. Big increase. Around 20% like that.
He added the major challenge after operations resume would be to work around having to wear disposable gloves and aprons while serving customers. The Health Ministry strongly recommends and encourages the use of face masks in public areas, especially in crowded and confined places. Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said this comes following the World Health Organization's WHO's recommendation on Friday, advising everyone to wear face masks in public areas where there is a risk of COVID-19 transmission.
WHO mengumumkan penggunaannya kerana kita dapat bukti yang ia berkesan untuk menurunkan jangkitan COVID-19 dan Kementerian Kesihatan akan terus sangat menggalakkan penggunaan penutup hidung dan mulut terutamanya mereka yang bergejala dan juga kalau kita berada di kawasan orang ramai, contohnya kalau kita mengambil pengangkutan menaiki pengangkutan awam dan sebagainya. Dan pada petugas kesihatan.
According to the WHO's guidance, people over 60 years or with health issues should wear a medical-grade mask when they are out and are unable to socially distance, while all others should wear a 3-layer fabric mask. Dr. Nur Hisham also announced that there were 37 new cases detected today, with 1 new death. Of the new cases, 8 were imported cases and 29 were local infections among known clusters. In a further breakdown of the local cases, 19 were Malaysians, whereas 10 were foreigners. The COVID-19 Temporary Measures Bill to be drafted by the government is a timely move by Putrajaya to address the economic challenges faced by the people, traders and companies that have been hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic and enforcement of the MCO, which began on March 18th. According to lawyer Faisal Moidin, several countries, including Singapore, have already passed related laws and regulations to protect businesses against legal repercussions for failing to perform or fulfill their contractual obligations since the outbreak. However, Faisal believes that the government must formulate a bill that is balanced for all affected economic sectors to ensure their revival, unlike Singapore, which limited the law to certain commercial sectors.
Jadi itu satu lesson yang kita boleh belajar. So kita mungkin perlu lihat kepada bidang-bidang ataupun industri ataupun jenis-jenis kontrak yang lebih luas. Singapura lancarkan undang-undang COVID dia ni pada bulan 4, berkuat kuasa 20 hari bulan 4. Tapi pada 13 hari bulan 5, dia tambah lagi undang-undang, tambah lagi bidang yang terlibat melalui feedback yang dia dapat daripada rakyat. Jadi dari segi itu kita boleh ambil feedback sekarang ni seperti yang kerajaan buat, dan kita kena pastikan industri yang terlibat, jenis-jenis kontrak yang terlibat di mana kita mahu memberi moratorium ni adalah atau penangguhan ni adalah lebih luas.
He added another crucial matter is for the government to evaluate the retrospective powers of the bill to enable it to provide protection to the people or businesses from the moment the MCO was implemented until a suitable time to be determined by the government. It is expected that the bill, which will help support Malaysia's economic recovery phase and provide relief to those whose livelihoods were affected by the pandemic, will be tabled at the next Parliament sitting in July. Coming up after the break, police raid a wild drug-laced party in Bazaars. The details when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Still on Nightline. The Prime Minister on Saturday announced changes in the leadership at 2 government-linked corporations, GLCs, Petroleum Nasional Berhad, Petronas, and Malaysia Airlines Berhad, MAB. Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli Wan Arifin has been appointed to the new chairman of MAB, whereas Tengku Muhammad Taufik Tengku Aziz has been appointed the President and Group Chief Executive Officer. In a statement, the Prime Minister said both appointments will take effect from July 1st. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also thanked Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli for his 37 years of service at Petronas, where he had previously served as the President and CEO. UEM Magenta Berhad said it will ensure there is no service disruption at all hospitals under its care and will manage any issues relating to the welfare of its workers internally. In a statement to TV3 on Saturday, UEM Magenta reiterated that it had always remained professional in dealings with the National Union of Workers in Hospital Support and Allied Services. Referring to a gathering on June 2nd at Hospital Raja Pemaisuri Bainun in Ipoh, Perak, which took place during the Conditional Movement Control Order period, the firm said it was unfortunate. It said actions taken by the authorities relating to the organisation of public gatherings during the CMCO are matters which are neither determined nor issued by the company. It said that out of the 5 union members who were detained and charged with defying the CMCO, only 1 was confirmed to be a current employee of its healthcare support division at Magenta UEMS Sdn Berhad. UEM Magenta said based on internal investigations, it had identified that only 4 who gathered on June 2nd were hospital frontliners, whereas the rest were made up of external parties and not its employees. 39 individuals were arrested after cops stormed a drug-laced wild party held at a bungalow in Bazaars early on Saturday. In the 1:15 a.m. raid, police detained 20 men and 19 women aged between 18 and 40 years old, including 9 Vietnamese nationals. Brickfield's Police Chief ACP Zairul Nizam Muhammad Zainuddin Hilmi, in a statement on Saturday, said authorities also detained a female suspect who rented the bungalow online at 1,900 ringgit per night. He added those who attended the party were invited via WhatsApp and phone calls. Authorities also seized 3 plastic packages believed to contain 46.1 grams of MDMA, 12 ecstasy pills, and 3 plastic packages containing 4.5 grams of ketamine, all valued at 5,647 ringgit. 32 individuals from the group also tested positive for drugs. All those detained were also issued 1,000 ringgit compound each for flouting the CMCO and remanded for 7 days until next Thursday to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Next, Joe Biden officially clinches Democratic presidential nomination. The story and more after this break. Stay with us. We're back with news on the foreign front. In the United States, Joe Biden has formally won the Democratic Party nomination to take on Donald Trump in November's presidential election. This came after more than a week of turmoil in the nation following the death of an African-American man in police custody in Minnesota. Biden said on his Twitter that he had secured the 1,991 delegates needed to claim the nomination on the first ballot of the party's convention set to be held in August. The 77-year-old has been the presumptive Democratic nominee since April, when Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders dropped out of the primaries. The former vice president picked up a large haul of delegates after dominating presidential primaries in 7 states and the District of Columbia last Tuesday. He's also expected to earn more this upcoming Tuesday when Georgia and West Virginia hold primary contests. Over in India recorded the biggest single-day spike in COVID-19 cases on Saturday after 9,887 new cases were detected, bringing the total number of cases to 236,657. Following the spike, the country has now surpassed Italy as the 6th worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic. The ministry also reported 294 new deaths on the same day, bringing the total to 6,642. It is understood that most of the new cases are in rural areas following the return of hundreds of thousands of migrant workers who left cities and towns after the lockdown in late March. To date, almost half of the country's known cases have been traced to the 4 huge, densely populated cities of Delhi, Chennai, Ahmedabad and Mumbai, where hospitals have already run out of beds. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 cases in Indonesia rose by 993 within one day to 30,514, with the death toll increased by 31 to 1,801. According to its health ministry official, Ahmad Yuryanto, this is the 3rd time the country has recorded more than 900 cases in a single day. The new record high in cases comes as the country begins easing lockdown restrictions and restarting some sectors of the economy. In the meantime, Singapore has preliminarily confirmed 344 new cases of COVID-19, raising the tally to 37,527. The Republic's health ministry said the vast majority of the cases were still work permit holders residing in foreign worker dormitories, while only 7 cases were from the community, of whom 3 are Singaporeans or permanent residents and 4 are work pass holders. We'll now take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers awaiting you Sunday, June 7th. Both the New Sunday Times and Berita Harian highlight on the green light given to barbers, hair salons and night markets to reopen business. Whereas Harian Metro focuses on the dilemma of some 5,000 Malaysian students in Egypt who have expressed desire to return home. You can also get an 8-page Penjana pullout with your New Sunday Times. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper. Looks like that's it for Nightline this time around. In Spain, Spanish football giant Real Madrid continued with their preparations ahead of the La Liga restart on June 11th, with its star players relaxing, playing a foot volley match rather than doing their usual training module. Let's have a look as we wrap up. I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for tuning in and be well.
Right.